The internet is a crazy place. Full stop. End of sentence. And there's this new trend on, and I only have myself to blame for my own For You page, but there's a new trend on TikTok where they're having a conversation about whether or not Harriett Tubman is real. And we're going to get into it. Some of you know I wrote a book called Harriett Tubman Live in Concert. It is a book about Harriett Tubman coming back to life, writing a hip-hop album. And I wrote it because I am a big fan of hip-hop, I'm a big fan of music, and I am a big fan of Harriett Tubman. I'm a history buff. I'm not a historian. I am a history buff. So I stumbled across this video, and let's just talk about this topic. It is honestly wild. And at first I was going to make a video on TikTok, like a second video about this on TikTok, but then the video just ended up being way too long, and I figured, you know what, I'll move it over to my YouTube page. You all can see the video, and we can have a conversation about it together. So here's what I've been exploring, and to be honest, I only have myself to blame for my own For You page. So let's talk about it. So I found this video of this lady. Here's the video.
Ever since I found out Harriett Tubman is not a real person, it fucked me up. Not gonna lie.
A part of the video at least. And then I was like, let me get in here, see what's going on. I made a response video. It got a lot of traction, a lot of people, which was nice because the first video was lady saying Harriett Tubman's not real. And then everyone kept being like, in the comments were like, yeah, girl, you're right. Finally, someone's waking it up, which concerned me deeply. And then I saw another video of another lady. So now I've seen 3 videos talking about how Harriett Tubman does not exist and is not real. Here's my rebuttal.
Understand that the intelligence of my womb is the intelligence of my entire body.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but let's unpack the rest of the video.
But you said the first 3 minutes of my motherfucking video is misinformation. Rebuttal it. Rebuttal it. Y'all always got so much shit to say, but you don't never do the research. You don't never, and if you do the research, show me.
Okay, so I have done research, and to be clear, this woman is not talking to me. She's responding to the comment in the video. This is not about me, but I have done research on Harriett Tubman my whole life, specifically in the past like 6 years. I've been doing a lot of research on Harriett Tubman, and these are not my findings. These are the findings of historians. Again, I am a history buff. I am not a historian.
So first of all, if y'all don't know, Harriett Tubman was not her name. And y'all, I keep telling y'all, America is a stage. These people are playing characters. Everybody, for some odd reason, has to change their name.
She changed her name because she's a fugitive, and she's running from the law. So yes, she was born Araminta Ross, but then she changed her name to Harriett Tubman, which, by the way, is just her first husband's last name, Tubman, and Harriett, her mother's first name, and then she chose the name Harriett Tubman.
And if you don't know, her real name was Araminta Ross, and I believe that's a Hebrew name. So she had to be kidnapped and brainwashed.
Okay, I'm pretty sure Araminta is a name that has English origins that might mean something in Hebrew, but I don't think it is a Hebrew name. But that being said, I don't know how that proves that she was kidnapped and brainwashed. Like, even if her name was Yentl, that does not prove that she has been kidnapped and brainwashed. But let's keep going.
And ironically, she's supposed to have led multiple slaves to freedom. But she worked for the U.S. How does that make sense?
So Harriett Tubman's work as a conductor on the Underground Railroad happened before the Civil War actually started. So from like 1850 to 1860, this is when she was making her trips back and forth to above the Mason-Dixie line. And then the Civil War started after that. So she was not working for the government during that time. Again, she was a fugitive running from the law.
If we are the Aboriginal people of this land and she worked for the U.S., she was not working for us.
So she keeps using the word Aboriginal, which she's technically not using it wrong. But just to be clear, the word Aboriginal is used almost exclusively to refer to people who are indigenous to Australia. So you wouldn't really call like a Native American an Aboriginal person. But she's not technically using it wrong. Like, black people are indigenous to Africa, but you wouldn't really use the word Aboriginal Africans. Like that's just, but however, I digress. Let's keep going. So the work that she did on the Underground Railroad was not, she was a free agent. She wasn't working for anyone. She's working for the people. She's working for enslaved people. But then that work created the reputation that she had, which has got her a job in the U.S. military as a scout and a spy. And the work she did as a cook was just to make money. That was just to make money. And also the U.S. government ended up owing her a lot of money that they ended up eventually paying her.
Oh, and she worked with David Hunter, who was a general for the Union. And you know, the Union was supposed to be black people.
I don't know where this lady heard that the Union was black people. To be clear, the Union just refers to everything north of the Mason-Dixie up to Canada. That's the Union. And everything south of the Mason-Dixie down to the ocean, that's the Confederacy. And to be clear, the Union was mostly white people. The Union was mostly white people. It was not the black people. It was not us. It wasn't black people.
Why would black people have a white man as a general when we just went through and escaped from slavery? That does not make sense. It doesn't make sense.
That's correct. It does not make sense because it's not true. Also, generals are not elected. They're appointed. And I can almost assure you there were no black people involved in appointing this general. That's almost a guarantee.
Right? And so, it sounds like she might have led him to us. And the people who she was rescuing, which more than likely were black men, she was trapping into their system.
I don't even know where to begin with this one. It's a little Kanye Westy, to be honest. First of all, Harriett Tubman, she helped men, she helped women, she helped children. She did not have any gender prerequisites that she made you meet or require or fill out before she helped you. If you were an enslaved person, she would help you. But also, not to mention, a lot of times, because when a lot of conductors in the Underground Railroad would head back to when they would head back to the South to get people, a lot of times the pastors or the preacher, the black preachers who worked on the plantation, they were actually choosing who would go next, because obviously you couldn't have a lot of communication between someone in the North and someone who was enslaved on a plantation in the South.
He led the Union to black armies using the same tunnel systems that they use to today. Look.
Okay, these are maps of caves. This is the map. This is the map that she's referring to. These are caves. These are not tunnels. A lot of these aren't even connected. They're just really close together. A lot of them aren't connected. And also you'll notice, see, Harriet Tubman is from Maryland. None of those caves are in Maryland. So was she walking over to Tennessee and then using the tunnels to get up to Canada or to Pennsylvania?
Ironically, these are the same tunnel systems that she used to free us.
And I guess this needs to be said again. The Underground Railroad was not under the ground. It was not sub-earth. It was on top of the ground. It was houses, churches, businesses, restaurants, hiding in carriages. It was all above the ground. So when we say underground, it's like how your favorite musician is underground. Like, you know, you underground musician. You don't actually have to go under the earth to listen to your favorite hip hop artist or some garage band. They're above. They're on top of the ground, but it's underground. Like it's a secret. Like it's a secret. Not a lot of people know about it. That's what they mean by underground. I didn't know people thought that the Underground Railroad was actually under the ground. I did not know that. And it's not a train. It's not an actual rail. There's no train. They didn't build a subway system in the 1800s from the South to the North. We don't have that today. I mean, there might have been like a tunnel somewhere, but probably not.
It was used as the face, so that way we would think that they were on our side.
So Harriet Tubman was not the face of the Underground Railroad until well after the Civil War, right? So because Harriet Tubman was moving in secret, people couldn't know about her. She couldn't be this because of the Fugitive Slave Act. That means that If you make, that means if you were an enslaved person and you make it to freedom, you are now a fugitive. But also anyone who helps an enslaved person get to freedom is also a fugitive. So no matter where you are in the United States, you could be taken and made to a prisoner. You would be arrested. You'd be arrested if you were an enslaved person who got free or you helped an enslaved person get free because of the Fugitive Slave Act. In fact, a lot of people didn't know who she was. They didn't know if she was a man. They didn't know if she was a woman. She had so many nicknames: Moses, Black Moses, the Spirit, the Ghost. She had a lot of nicknames. And a lot of people still knew her as Minty, which was her nickname, Araminta. A lot of people still knew her as Minty. A lot of people didn't even know that she changed her name to Harriett Tubman.
It's no different from the Democratic and the Republic. They're both on the same team, but pretending to be on separate teams. So that's the same thing with the Union and the Confederate. They were the same people because that's the United States. We weren't a part of the United States.
So now I'm confused. Is the Union the black people? Is the Union the North? Like, you see how it doesn't really make sense when you like really think hard about it? That's because it's not. That's because it's not true. That's because it's just not true.
So any black people that were a part of the United States were kidnapped. They were kidnapped. They were prisoners of war because the Civil War was being fought between the Aboriginal people or the original people in the United States.
Okay, so the Civil War was not between indigenous people and the United States. That's just not true. It was between the North and it was the South. Also, I feel like I need to say this. Black people are not indigenous to North America. We're not. We're just not. And also, black people, we weren't considered prisoners of war. You could be considered property. You could be a fugitive, or you could be a free man. But you were not a citizen because you couldn't vote. You had no rights as a citizen.
I remember I said that she was used and she was trapping black people. Y'all remember when those pandemics of syphilis and things were being implemented into our men? How do you think that happened? She helped. She was a nurse. She telling y'all.
I don't even know where to begin with insinuations that Harriett Tubman was abducting black men and giving them syphilis. This is wild. This is a really hot take and a wrong take.
And so when we go into these Reconstruction eras to where they are reconstructing these buildings, they use black prisoners for that.
Okay, she's not completely wrong here. The Reconstruction era is shortly following the Civil War, trying to reintegrate the South into the United States of America, and a lot of black prisoners were used. Also, a lot of black soldiers were used because the 13th Amendment states that slavery was never abolished. It was just conditionalized. They just put terms on it, right? So it's like no one should be enslaved unless they're a bad person and they broke the law. But they made it really easy to break the law for black people. They just made laws where black people were just constantly breaking the law, no matter what we did, no matter where we went, no matter who we were. It was really easy to just be like, well, you're a convict. And they still have that today, which is how you get really cheap free labor in the prisons, slavery, by just, over policing black communities.
And then let me tell you something else. Who was she being used by? Y'all, she was being used by Lincoln. Let me tell you, President Lincoln. She purchased a house from William Henry, who was appointed Secretary of State by Abraham Lincoln. How the fuck did a black woman who escaped slavery, who apparently helped all these niggas escape slavery, get a house from the president? Or get a house from the president's secretary?
With money. She bought the house with money. Harriett Tubman made money by cooking. She made money by cleaning. She made money by doing laundry. She made money by telling her story, by selling her story. She was an orator. She did speaking engagements. Harriett Tubman she had money. She did make money. She used money. She bought the house with money. So William Seward and Abraham Lincoln were two different people with two different ideologies, two different moral compasses. They had a lot of different stances on a lot of things. So I don't know how it proves that because Abraham Lincoln appointed William Seward, there's no way that he would sell Harriett Tubman a house. because William Seward was actually a big advocate for the Underground Railroad and formerly enslaved people and trying to help them better their lives. Abraham Lincoln was not an abolitionist. So she's not wrong about that. They do kind of spin the narrative that Abraham Lincoln was like an abolitionist. He was not an abolitionist. He just wanted to hurt the South. In fact, he was quoted several times saying, "If I could have entered the war without freeing the slaves, I would have done it, or just freeing some slaves, I would have done it." It was just to cripple the South's economy because they were getting free labor.
Okay, William was supposed to work for the Union of Black People as well, but he ironically helped play a role in the purchase of Alaska. And I keep. People be forgetting that we are original of this land. So just like how we were here, we were there. There's original Black Alaskans too. Let me show you.
Okay, Black people are not indigenous to Alaska. We're not everywhere. we can't be indigenous to every land ever. Black people are not indigenous to Alaska. Now, Black people have been in Alaska for a very long time. There were Black whalers who showed up to like hunt whales in Alaska. The gold rush brought in Black people to Alaska. When they were trying to build infrastructure in Alaska, a lot of Black soldiers showed up to build and then stayed. But we're not indigenous to Alaska. We're just not.
And Lincoln was just like Obama. They used him as a face. Y'all, he was Black. Here he go with his real mama. This is a fake picture. This is who he really is. This is a Black man. Y'all know Lincoln got murdered in Ford's Theater. Ford's Theater used to be a Black church that got burnt down in the 1800s. And ironically, Ford's Theater sold the chair that he got assassinated in to Henry Ford, who ironically is the car brand. And y'all know that Henry Ford is also the same man who came up with 9 to 5, the 9 to 5 workday.
I don't know what any of that has to do with Abraham Lincoln being Black, but he's not Black. He was never Black. Abraham Lincoln is not Black. This is just a picture of a Black man who happens to look like Abraham Lincoln. That's all that is. I do want to say I actually think it is, I think that America has earned Black people's distrust. Let me just say that plainly and clearly. There's been a lot of lies, a lot of scams, a lot of tricks, but everything is not a lie, a scam, and a trick. Not everything. And there's a YouTuber that I really love named FD Signifier here on YouTube, and he's coined this phrase this term pin, a pseudo-intellectual Negro nonsense, and that's what this is. And I saw someone else online, I don't know who it was, I can't attribute the person, but it basically said everything's a conspiracy theory when you don't know how anything works. I don't want to say any hate to this person, because it's not about that. It's just that it was getting so much traction, and I was like, I don't want people thinking that Harriet Tubman wasn't a real person, because she was a very real person, very much lived, helped a lot of people. Her grave is still there. You could go see it today if you wanted to, with her name on it. It's just she's a very real person. If you want to read my book, you can. It's called Harriet Tubman Live in Concert. The link is in the bio. You can go to readthedragqueen.com to read the book. It is not. It's a fiction book. My book is fiction. Ironically, my book is fiction, but it's labeled as fiction. All right, y'all. We'll do another video soon. This has been a while.